Good morning, everyone. Kelly Levine here, Kelly Levine Closet Design. Today we're going to talk about windows in closets. And why do you need to know this? Because if you've got a window in your closet and you're trying to maximize the space, it's really important for you to at least know what you're getting into as far as what's going to happen with that window. Are you going to still be enjoying it? Is it going to be hidden? Is it going to ruin your clothes potentially? So those are a couple of things to consider. What you need to do, I'm just going to go over what we're going to cover. We're going to cover what to look for, how to do it, and then what the implications might be for different closet shapes. Depending on if you have a window in. What we're not talking about today is dressing rooms. So if you've got this big open great space with a window and it's more like a dressing room where you might want to put a bench underneath it or something like that, I'm not covering those details today. This is, when I started doing my outline for this, I was like, oh my gosh, this could go on forever and ever and ever. So really, I'm going to talk about what I think are probably the two main things that you need to be aware of and think through if you're designing a closet. And, let's just say under 10 by 10. Anything over 10 by 10 is, big enough for an island and might be considered a dressing room. So they might take on a little bit different characteristics. So today we're talking about windows and the two things you need to know to maximize the space and make it look beautiful. And so I'm going to, when it comes to windows, I will just say this: location, location, location. What you're going to do really depends on where that window is located. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to try to do something with both hands and hold the camera because I want to show you how I'm talking about the space beside the windows. So I'm going to just take this off of here. So I am talking about the space from a corner. This would be the corner of the room here. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was like, why are you not seeing that? Okay, so this is the corner of the wall, and here's the window trim. Okay, so we are talking about, sorry, this is going to get janky for a minute. So we're talking about the space from the corner to the edge of the window trim. In this case, I think you can see it's 16 inches or close to 16 inches. But here's the other thing. If we look down a little farther on my window, let's go down, you can see that the trim sticks out. This is common both on the bottom of windows and sometimes at the top. Mine happens to be straight. But make sure you look for the widest part. So really here, I only have, 15 1/4 inches to work with. Okay, so that's the measurement I'm talking about when I'm talking about how much you've got on your sidewall. Okay, the other measurement that we're talking about is how much you've got from the floor up. So let me see. So this is the bottom of my window trim here. And if I come up with the tape, sorry, I'm trying to get in there. We've got 43 inches to the bottom of the trim. That is the absolute maximum that you can use. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how much space you have under the window. We're not going to include trim or any of that. Another thing to notice, oftentimes under windows, there are vents. Mine happens to have one on the sidewall. We can work around those things, but just be aware of them. Okay, so I'm going to flip you down to my page now. Okay, here we go. Let's get this set. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that Facebook is doing all the things. And I'm actually live on here. Yep, it looks like we are. Awesome. Okay, so I have gone ahead and drawn out a floor plan, and if you've been with me for a while, you probably recognize this, but if this is your first time, please go back and watch how to inventory your closet, how to measure your closet, and how to design your closet. Those are all three videos that you really need to know the basics of in order to kind of follow along with this. Okay, you can watch this, you probably get something out of it anyway, but go back and review those three videos and that will help. So this is the plan view. I'll just write it there, and this is the elevation view. Plan meaning we are standing above it looking down. Elevation meaning we're standing in front of the window looking at it. Okay, so these little lines that means that's glass. Okay, so I've gone ahead and drawn out a plan view and an elevation view with a window, and this is how I draw a window. In a plan view, I just kind of make a mark on each end and draw a couple lines front and back so that I know there's a window there. And then I label how much space I have on each side. Now for this example, I picked a 96-inch wall and let's see, a 72-inch wall on this side. Okay, and I have said in this example that we have 24 inches on each side. Okay, so I talked about the two things that are the important part is how much space do you have on the side of the window. Here's why that's important. If you have 24 inches, remember from our other videos that hanging clothes equal 22 inches. So, let me make sure you guys can see this. It looks like we're losing part of the iPad. Okay, I'll move that down a little bit. There we go. Try to get this a little bit straighter for you there. Okay, so hanging clothes equals 22 inches. So if we are putting hanging clothes back here, we are not going to be in front of the window. Okay, so the problem that happens when people are designing closets is, remember, our structure or our shelf is generally only 12 or 14 inches. So, you know, that if we were doing this all in hanging, that could look like that. And you're like, well, that's no problem. And in this case, it's not, because your clothes are going to hang out to here. So they're not going to be in front of the trim, they're not going to be in front of the window, and you're going to have a nice look when you come into the closet. You can see it down here in the elevation view. If this was our structure, our clothes would be hanging in here. Okay, so again, this is the edge of the window, and you can see if we carry this line down, that's 22 inches from the edge of the wall. Our clothes are not going in front of the window. So that's the first thing to consider. If you've got, 22 inches or more, you're totally fine to put double hanging there. There's so many things that we could talk about on this topic. I'm going to try to get through these basics and not get too sidetracked. But if you have any specific questions, let me know. Because, like I said, when I started laying out the outline for this, I realized I could go on and on and on and on forever about the different possibilities with windows. Okay, so hanging clothes are 22 inches. If you've got 22 inches of wall space, you're totally good for double hanging. What if, let's go to this one. What if it's like my window and there's only, 15.5 inches of usable space there? Then if we try to put hanging here, sorry, you guys know I can't stand my lines if they're not straight. If we try to put hanging here and we follow that down to our elevation view, and then we put our clothes hanging here, they are going to hang in front of the window. Okay, and if this window is lower, it could potentially block off a lot. The other thing to consider with that is, besides the fact of, is it going to look nice, is it going to look the way you want it to look, the other thing to consider is the sun beating on your clothes. Whenever there's a window in a closet, you know, I would recommend putting some kind of UV protection on the window if you've got, you know, nice clothes hanging anywhere where that light is going to be shining in a lot. If those clothes get rotated a lot, it's probably not a big deal, but whatever those last few are, they will fade over time. Anyway, that's a whole nother deal. But you can see the difference here, where if you've got, you know, 15.5 inches, you don't have room to get double hanging in there. Okay, let's go back to our first example. So what would we do? Let's just say we wanted to maximize the double hanging in this closet. We're going to do all hanging in this closet, and we want to maximize the double hanging. So because we've got 24 inches on this side as well, and I've conveniently left us 24 inches down here by the door too, so we can do another double hanging on this side, you know, and these would probably be at least 2 sections, 36-inch sections each. Okay, and still, you know, our clothes, the one thing that you might run into on this one is, you know, you might have that door. That door is not going to be able to open too far, but it's more than 90 degrees, so for most people they would say, you know, that's fine. So then we've got this coming on the other side. Oops, sorry. And we've got these clothes coming down here. So we've still got a nice big open view of our window. But remember, the other thing that we talked about was, what do we do under the window? So in this case, this window goes up 42 inches. Okay, whoops. So we've got 42 inches there. For double hanging, we would ideally want a rod at, you know, 39.5 is probably, you know, the standard for an adult. I like to go slightly higher if you can, but you could, especially if you hang jeans over a hanger or something like that, you could get another hanging section back here. And I'm going to show, you know, we're going to leave 27 inches on each side and have a section right there. Okay, so if you go up, now you're gonna probably have to leave, you know, a couple inches. So realistically, for an adult's closet, this would not be a great place to put hanging. Like I said, unless it's pants over a hanger. So it's going to be slightly shorter than most people would need. For, you know, especially for like men's dress shirts or things like that. Small tank tops, you know, really simple things, you could potentially get something in here. So this would be what we would do if we wanted to get the absolute most hanging in this closet. I don't love this. Most people wouldn't probably do this unless they were really trying to maximize the hanging. But if that window was any lower, you definitely would not be able to put hanging here. So, so let's just put this is it needs 22 inches wide, but it also needs 39.5 inches of height. That's for short hanging. But what if we had that same closet and our window was higher? What if we had 60 inches? This is a really great amount of space to use. There's so many options here with what you can do with this much space. So we've got the same, let's just put the same hanging on both sides. Taking up that much space, so it's right up next to the window. But now, if we need some long hanging, or if we just want to give it a little bit more space, now we can go up a decent amount of space. And this is probably too big for one section the way I drew this, but you know, there's a couple things. If you were, let's do this first. If you wanted to put shoe shelves here, those aren't as deep, so you could go, you know, at your 24 inches. And then get quite a few shoe shelves in here. Depending on the style that you wear, I'm just going to show a couple different heights here. But, you know, you could potentially get, let's see, about 28, almost 30 pair of shoes here. Something like that, if you've got a decent amount of space. You can do that on the other one too. You can do shoe shelves here. You're not going to get as many, and so the thing that I always weigh out is, you know, the cost versus what you're getting, and is there a better way to put them somewhere else. But below the window is a good spot if you don't have any. It's also a great spot for a bench, and in this case I would always recommend a movable bench and not a built-in, because you want to be able to get into those corners, and if you end up not liking the bench there for that purpose, you can always move it if it's movable. That's my feeling anyway. So you could do shoes there. This is also a great place for our mid-hanging. So mid-hanging take about 51 inches typically, so you know, that's about where your rod would be. You could get 48 inches of mid-hanging in there. Okay, so you can see the huge difference if the window is higher or lower, and if the window is to the side too close. What can you do with that? Well, there's a couple different things you can do. You could do a section, you could use this entire wall and come over here. But I think, you know, probably a better thing to do if it was this is to just have potentially have shelving above here, which is going to look like, oh, sorry, getting the wrong buttons here. Here we go. Oh, you know what? Where are... Okay, so it's a section like this, or this. You know, we've looked at these before, where you've got a section with a hanger below, and again below the window height, so the clothes aren't going in front of the window, and then shelves above that stay back if you want that window to be totally open. You could even do a mid, because by the, you know, depending on the height of the hanger, by the time those dresses start hanging out, they're typically below the window as well. So those are two options of what you could do on this section here, where there's not much space for the window. Let's just say that we did a low section with clothes coming down. What would we be able to do on this side? So now we've got, let's just say we've got 33 inches left over here. There's a couple different ways to do it. If you like the idea of keeping your closet, you know, having all the sections go back towards that back wall and then having the center be something different, you can do that. But in this case, the window's not centered, so if you try to center something on the back of the wall, it's not going to look centered with the window. So if you're really trying to squeeze in every inch that you can, you could use this section here this way. If it's less than 30 inches, I wouldn't probably recommend doing that. If it's over 30, you know, it is a few more inches of hanging, especially if you're really, really desperate for double hanging. So what would that look like? So that would look like this. And here's our 33 inches. So now we've got a section here that's got hanging below and shelves above. And I'm assuming in these examples that you don't want to cover the window. If you want to cover the window, you can. Just be aware that you're covering the window is the main point, I guess. So in this example, then the clothes are hanging here and the clothes are hanging here. Okay, and then we still have room here for a little bench, if you like that idea, or if you're trying to maximize the space, you can still do a section here for dresses or shoe shelves. I guess in the beginning I said we were trying to maximize hanging. So to maximize the hanging, we would, you know, put more hanging right there. It won't be double hanging. It could be for dresses. Or, you know, if it's regular hanging, you could have some shelves below for shoes or some shelves above for sweaters, either way. Okay, so we have now, you know, maximized this corner for hanging. And you can still get back here if you leave the proper space here. If you've got hanging against hanging, leave at least 27 inches from the wall here. Maybe even a little bit more if you're, you know, a bigger person or have, you know, bulkier clothes, because you want to be able to get back into this corner. I hope this makes sense. DM me if you've got, you know, a special window situation. The other thing that I wanted to do was just show you a closet with a window. So this is a real closet that I designed, and again, this design was based on their inventory. I always do an inventory first. That's the most important thing for determining your design. So she did need some dress hanging. We needed to maximize double hanging, and they wanted, one of the things on their wish list was pants racks and a few drawers. Okay, so this was the window. If you recognize this in the floor plan, this is the wall with the window. You can see here in this case, there was only like 2 inches from the wall to the window. There's no way that you're going to get anything going this way at the height of the window anyway. I guess you could have below, but this space is pretty narrow, again, to do hanging across from hanging. They already knew they didn't want that. So we decided to keep that clear and open by using hooks here and hanging the dresses here. This turned into a double hanging. This one's a double hanging around the corner. So if we look at wall B, this is wall B. You can see that here we've got, we've got a pants rack and shelving. We've got drawers and shelving and a space for laundry. We've got another pants rack, some hanging and a shelf above that. And then we've got double hanging on this wall. And we've got the window not obstructed at all with the dresses below it. So this will be, there will be clothes hanging out here. I'm going to do this in pink. The clothes will be hanging out into this area. Actually, the pants racks don't hang out that far, so that probably won't. But this will have hanging and this will have hanging. So you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 40 inches in there. If they have stuff hanging on these hooks, that's going to take up a little bit of space. That still leaves them with a 30-inch walkway to get back there, and so that'll be really nice. And it is nice. This closet's already installed. So, but I just wanted to show you one, in reality of how that worked. This is a custom design, so it's to the ceiling. That's why it's drawn a little bit different there. So what are our main points? Short hanging takes 22 inches of width. So if you're trying to do double hanging near a window, if you don't want to be in front of the window, you need 22 inches of space. If you've got less than that, depending on the height of the window, you could potentially do hanging below and shelves above. If you have less than 12 inches, it is very unlikely that you'll be able to do any hanging near a window, and you'll want to look at going and using this wall. Like this one, there's no way that I could have gotten anything in there. I do have another example here to turn this. This is one where the window was in a really goofy spot. There's only 9 inches here, so I could not go that way. You need 10.5 inches from the wall in general for a rod. You can scooch it back a little bit from that, but if you've got less than 11 inches, you're not going to have much luck getting a very good rod in there. And certainly if you're doing a DIY, those panels are going to be 12 inches, so you need 12 inches at the wall in order to have hanging, going this way. So keep that in mind. This window was in such an odd space, from the door, that we ended up staying away from it. They wanted a big cabinet, and she wanted that to be the focal point. So I came away from the window, I think 21 inches. And then we came away just a little bit on the other side of the window. Here's the other side of the window. So I came away from that, mainly to leave space so that the person using this cabinet wasn't hitting all these clothes and stuff. So there's the cabinet that they knew they wanted, and they wanted that to be a focal point. So as you can see, thinking this window thing through can really get complicated. It's not quite so bad if we're just talking about hanging clothes and or shoes and or a bench, that type of thing. Here's your key dimensions again. 22 inches, okay for double. Less than 22 but greater than 12. Whoops. You can get shelving in there. Okay. And hanging if you're okay with it going over the window. Less than 12 inches. You're going to have to use the space behind it or below it more than likely. You can't get hanging there. Okay. The space below isn't as critical as the space to the side as far as what you can do there. It's just more a matter of, do you want to even use it or not? Higher windows are great. If they get to be, you know, too low, you know, let's just say that our window was, you know, way down here, which a lot of them are, then, you know, your best bet then is probably to, you know, do a bench down here, something like that. You could get a storage bench or have a bench, you know, have something built in, but definitely not hanging if you've got a window that's coming lower than 42 inches. Okay? I hope this helped and didn't confuse to the nth degree. You can see the main point here is it's really important to determine what you need in the closet first. As always, your inventory is number one, what you need, and then how you're going to work around the window to keep it the focal point that you probably more than likely want it to be. It's nice when they're not obstructed and looks nice. They're not, you know, ruining all your clothes with the light and just adding light to the space. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Let me know in direct message or in the comments if you have any questions. I will link up the graph paper in case this is your first time and you're just trying to draw out. Go back and watch the video how to draw your closet and you'll know what this all means. Have a great week. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Kelly Levine signing off. Thanks so much.